So this video will definitely be a different tone to my usual videos, and mainly because I want to talk about reality shows and how I think that they've gone a little too far in terms of popularity and in terms of just pure overexposure. So this video will be me kind of being the voice of reason, which is something I don't really like doing. I prefer doing videos that are kind of more fun and more energetic. But here's my views on the reality show genre and how I feel it's affecting TV in recent times. So, what is the reality show genre? Well, the reality show genre is almost a child of the documentary genre. And we all know what a documentary is. A documentary is a film based on facts, following a real event and real characters. And reality shows are very much based on the same kind of details. But these days, reality shows have kind of left the interesting factor from the documentary genre and have focused more on a trashy point of view. And it's kind of lost the true essence of documentary type filmmaking. So before I even go into this subject and into this video, I'm just going to say this: I do not hate reality shows. I mean, I think if reality shows are done well, they can be pure entertaining. I used to love The Osbournes. I thought that show was incredibly funny, and it was booming with characters, and it was filled with energy, and it was every person in that show played off each other really well. It was an absolutely wonderful show to watch. But in saying that, I feel that reality shows have gone a little too far. So in this video, I want to focus on reality shows that mainly follow a group of people or a group of a family and their point of view and their lives, and that's the narrative structure I'm going for in terms of reality shows. Now, you're probably wondering, why do we have so many reality shows out there? And it's mainly because reality shows are incredibly cheap to produce. They don't need to have a massive crew. They have for these reality shows, they can work on a much smaller scale. A few cameramen, a sound recorder, a boom holder, very, very simple crew, very dialed back, very small. They don't have to pay for talent. They don't have to pay for big actors. They don't have to pay for talented composers. They don't have to pay for talented directors. It's very low key. Post-production time doesn't take as long either, because it's a basic assemble edit. Maybe some very basic color correcting, but nothing too fancy. So in terms of post-production, it's not going to take as long as, say, a film or a TV show or a film that's kind of green screen heavy or big blockbuster. So in terms of the production of a reality show, the production time doesn't take that long. And a lot of people will say that, reality shows are kind of, they're shot on hand, as in what's happening on screen is actually really happening. No, that is not the case. A lot of reality shows are scripted. Obviously, they're not going to go for the most talented scriptwriters out there. You're not going to see an Oscar-winning scriptwriter working on a reality show. But, of course, it's going to be scripted. They want a sense of entertainment, it's a sense of enjoyment. And not every day in a person's life is going to be filled with energy, filled with craziness. Of course, they have to script certain elements for the audience. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a few reality shows, and I'm just going to talk about why I just don't think they work. Okay, so I'm going to start off with some reality shows that MTV produce and that they televise. Okay, so one of which is, of course, 16 and Pregnant. And this show is a very popular show, and I just think that it kind of really lacks morals, because they're giving this show to, a teenager who just had this kind of life-changing moment in her life, and they decide to televise this journey, this adventure from being a teen to entering motherhood. And I just think to myself that teenagers these days, teenagers in mid-school or high school, they are incredibly naive to the idea of fame, and MTV are literally just offering, this chance to be famous if they decide to actually have a kid. Like, imagine the scenario in which a young girl is in mid-school or high school, and she's found a so-called love of her life, and she's kind of sick of school, and she decides, well, I'm in a healthy relationship, maybe we'll have a kid together and we'll have an MTV show. It's just a little corrupt in that way, I think. As in, it corrupts the minds of these kids thinking that, well, maybe life is that simple, but it just doesn't work for me in that sense. So moving on from that show, I want to talk about the show Teen Moms, and it's the spin-off from the original show. And I also feel that this show kind of doesn't work for me as well, because, or imagine this baby toddler, it will, from the original show, will grow up to spend her early years constantly under the spotlight, as in all their cherished moments in their early childhood is going to be put on screen. So the teen mom is going to be playing the role of the mother, and she's also going to be playing the star as well. So she's going to be balancing these two roles, one of course being way more major than the other. And this is just wrong in its own right, because she's not actually playing the role of the mother, her primary role. She's playing the role of the star. And just imagine the scenario when this actual show ends. I mean, the teen mom is going to be left fame hungry after the show ends, and of course she is going to try her hardest to get back on this fame ladder. And I just feel like this just robs the experience for this young kid, this young toddler who's grown up to this MTV world, and it kind of just dampens their spirits, their actual lives, because they grew up believing that maybe you have to be famous, that you have to be under the spotlight to truly appreciate life. So moving on from these two shows, I want to talk about Jersey Shore, a very popular show, and I myself have actually watched a few episodes of this, I mean, because I'm aware of the fan base that it has, and I myself, I don't really appreciate it that much. Now, this is a show where a group of people really throw the logic of the moral compass out the window. In other words, they act as inappropriate as possible. The idea of mannerisms and basic behaviour is gone, and they act as trashy as possible and as rude as possible, and they act as horrible to other people as much as possible as well. So, and I think this is actually being televised as entertainment, and I just think, of course, there is going to be younger people out there that are going to be watching this and think, oh, well, if we act this way, maybe we'll get a show. And the idea of these people that are members or cast members of this show are actually becoming famous because of this is also absolutely preposterous. So moving on from MTV's channel, I want to talk about another TV show that actually is since being cancelled, and it's a show called Here Comes Honey Boo Boo. Now, the title alone suggests a kind of kids cartoon, but the show is it's a reality show based on children's beauty pageants. This, to me, is always a touchy subject. This is a very weird subject, the idea of a child beauty pageant, because the day and age that we're living in, this is just kind of weird and very inappropriate, because we're living in a day and age where parents always fear the idea of their child being photographed or being on footage, and the idea of this being put online, it's a parent's biggest fear. So the idea of a show that's based on a child's beauty pageant is very weird. I mean, I get that there is a sense of culture from this show. I mean, there is definitely the mother-daughter bonding from it, but it just seems a little weird considering how easy it is for people to find things on the internet. The show did get cancelled because the lead character, I think she goes by Mama June, she ended up dating a sex offender, and that's how the show got cancelled. I'm actually glad actual producers actually took action and actually cancelled it, knowing that this rumour actually was released to the public. So this show is also about large families, and I think these type of shows are really difficult to get right, because you have to show that this family is a really good-natured family and filled with charisma and filled with charm. because big families, they were very common back in the day, not so much now. So shows like 19 Kids and Counting, they have to be driven by the idea that these people are just interesting people. And I just think myself, is this a good focus point for a TV show? Just a large family and the life around them. It just seems like a little bit of waste of time and maybe energy. I'd also like to mention like an English show, and I think it's an American show now, called Gobblebox. Now, I could be wrong about the title, so I will apologize about that. But the idea of this reality show is so simple and so ridiculous that I think it shouldn't be even aired. The concept of the show is family or married couples sitting down and watching TV and capturing their reactions to this. And somehow that became a show, and it's had several seasons. And even some of the people that are on the show have actually become quite famous, and they've even gotten book deals. And it's a little weird, and it's a little bit of a waste of time and effort. But people apparently watch this, so it's got some sort of entertainment value for people out there. From moving on from that, I'm going to have to mention this about the Kardashians, because these people have been getting TV shows left, right and centre. I mean, each one of them have been getting spin-offs on the E! Channel. I myself, I don't watch the show. I'm not truly interested in watching it. I've probably seen one episode in the background while I'm doing something else entirely. And none of what I've seen really appealed to me. And I really don't get this hype that it has. I mean, it must be on its 10th or 11th season. The main problem is, what I hate about this show is that these people are constantly under the spotlight, and it's really irritating when you're trying to avoid them, because I myself sometimes find myself going onto the Daily Mail website, and I would find that these people are literally leading the headlines for some reason, for some simple little thing like a photograph on Twitter or a photograph on Instagram. But somehow this is major news. This is world news, apparently. Considering all the craziness that's happening in this world, somehow these people are making the biggest headlines, which I find absolutely ridiculous. I heard this rumor, and this rumor almost sickened me when I heard it. But apparently there was a rumor a few years back that they were given $40 million for 3 more seasons of their show. And I just thought to myself, think of all the struggling scriptwriters out there that were trying to get their film produced, or you think of all these really creative animators or video game developers who could do amazing things with this money, but somehow there is a person out there, there is a production company out there that are willing to waste $40 million for these people. $40 million for these people to just live this basic life. And when I think of $40 million, I think of District 9. District 9 was a fantastic movie, one of a modern sci-fi masterpiece. And that film was actually cost less than $40 million. But just think that that $40 million was actually spent on 3 seasons of this Kardashian show, which is absolutely ridiculous. Now, in saying this, I want to look at the outcome for all these reality shows. And the outcome for these shows is ridiculous, as in all these reality stars have literally become almost rock stars. They've gotten this almost cult following where people are willing to pay to see these people. They have these massive followings on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook. They have this ridiculous star power about them. They've even tapped into merchandise. They've appeared on guest shows and this, that, and the other. And it's all gotten to their ego so much so. And I just think these people are just reality stars. I mean, they're not major players in Hollywood, but somehow they've been treated like royalty these days. So this is how I think they should approach reality shows in the future, if they want to do it. If they want to if they want to develop it if they want to go in a different direction for reality shows, here's what I think they should do. I think the hype for a reality star should be dialed back a lot. These people are literally everyday men and women like us who got a chance to be who got their chance in the spotlight, and they should be treated like this, so much so as in they shouldn't be just be getting this overhype about them. I mean, I get that they want to promote the show as much as possible, but these people do not deserve to, have this massive echo about them. Either you go the direction of you follow like interesting people and you see their lives and you follow their journey, almost a story that has a really interesting beginning and an interesting end, a story that has a sense of development, a real curve to the narrative, almost an upcoming story, and to actually follow a person or a group of people that are just inspiring and genuinely good people. And I also think, I mean, if you're going to do the everyday man or the everyday woman direction, as in normal people like me and you or us, that if you're going to go that direction, really focus on people that aren't going to be completely corrupted or poisoned by this constant attention. They need to be people who can be a star in the show and not forget their own morals and not forget who they are. So I'm hoping reality shows go this direction, because I think reality shows have a lot of potential. I think a lot of the direction has been lost over the years, and I have a feeling that it can make a turning point. It just needs to start this turning point. It really needs to go back to the drawing board and say what makes an interesting subject and what makes an interesting show, what makes an interesting almost character point. So that's just my views on reality shows. I mean, definitely just voice your opinion as much as possible on this subject. Put down in the comment section below and I will answer as much comments as possible. Now, I might have offended a few people, and I don't mean to, slag off their favorite shows, but once again, I make videos based on my own opinion. So, if you like this video, definitely like it. If you want to share it, I would greatly appreciate that as well. And if you watch this whole video, I will thank you for that as well. And I will leave it at that.